Hi everybody. So I took pictures with my iPhone of my sketches and they are not the best. So the first thing I'm going to do is just come in and grayscale it and then adjust the levels so that I push the whites and push the blacks. And you can still see because of the gradient, because there's a shadow on it, I have to like really tweak it to get what I need out of it. And then I'm just going to do a rough chop. Really, there's no like true set step of like, you do this, you do this, you do this. I am just, using the steps that make sense to me. And, I'm learning and working this as I go along. The totem pole is new for this semester. So this is literally the first time that we have done this. So what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting out from my original. I did the Command J to, make a copy of whatever is selected. And then, of course, I'm saving and saving often. And then I had to do these in two parts. So I am doing the same thing, made it grayscale, switched the levels, and then I'm doing a Command J to do that rough chop. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to, instead of like sketching different compositions, I'm actually going to use my sketches to create the different compositions. I thought it might run a little faster if I do it in Photoshop. So for this Illustrator project, we're starting out in Photoshop with our sketches and creating like the different thumbnails. So I want you to do 10 thumbnails, and this is one way that you can do them. Oh, and what I did there is I just selected a bunch of layers and right clicked on it and did duplicate, and you can literally duplicate those layers into another Adobe file or another Photoshop file. And then I'm figuring out how the artboards work here in Photoshop. So this is a lot of trial and error, and you'll see me like struggle a lot in Photoshop, trying some things out. And again, so all of my sketches are on one big artboard, and then I'm creating a 13 by 19 artboard for each of my thumbnails. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to like take my sketches and, mesh them together to figure out what's the best way. And it's copy and pasting from one artboard into the other. I'm going to keep everything on my original artboard so that I can reuse it over and over again. Because remember, if I scale down, then I cannot scale up again. And then I'm going to like flip some things. And this is me figuring out, like, is there a keyboard shortcut for this that I forgot? And yes, there is. And this is me being too lazy to go Google it. And I believe in the end, what I do is just do the drop down menu. Yeah, see, that's me looking for it there. And then I undid it. And then I'm getting mad. Doing it down to scale. I'm doing a multiply. If you do a multiply, and that was me giving up on flipping it. I'll do that later. So if you do a multiply on your layer in Photoshop, it'll take your drawing and make it see-through. And anytime you accidentally mess up, Command Z is your best friend. So I'm stacking my different images and figuring out scale, and I want 5 images per totem, and I can't remember if I did 5 images here, but this is going to be one of those things, more of like, do as I say, not as I do. I don't know. As teachers, we get to do that, right? So moving it to multiply so I can see through it. Naming my labels. Copying and pasting into the artboard. And then, move things back and forth, up and down. I don't know how that's going to look. It's kind of thin. I have a feeling with these totems that I've created here, I may have to add some extra to thicken them out, like some different designs, to give a little bit more substance and to work on the composition of it as a whole. And then I'm naming this thumbnail 1, and I'm making a copy of it. So I just took everything that I did, and actually I'm forgetting what I called it. I'm like, nope, this is thumbnail 2. And I'm going to hide. Or actually, I'm copy and pasting stuff into the second thumbnail, and I'm hiding the first thumbnail. So you can literally make 10 artboards in Photoshop and then export them as JPEGs to turn in if you want. Or you can just sketch them. I mean, for the thumbnails for this, to figure out composition, if you could just do a rough sketch of what you have, that would be okay as well. And as I'm like building these and figuring out, which order, how can I mesh one thing with the other, and how is that going to look, what scale do I need? I'm also thinking to myself that, this could really be a series, because there's a couple of thumbnails that I create that I kind of like, and I don't want to do just one. I want to do several of them. So I literally am thinking about, with this totem series, to have like, a series of 3 as my final, that I may make posters out of. But for you only have to do 1. And so here you see that I am going to flip this horizontally so that it changes the position of my sketch, but it keeps it all over on the right side. And I don't know if I love that. Remember, you can always make patterns as well. So patterns of 3 work very well in art. 3, 5, and 7. And I'm going to duplicate that and make a 3rd thumbnail. And again, it's an idea. It's a visual idea that I can explore further. I don't necessarily love it, but I'm going to just keep moving on and, try some different things. So now that I did that, I am going to open up each thumbnail artboard, and I'm going to select them, and then I'm going to open up my libraries, because I like using libraries in between programs. And with them all selected, I can just like grab it with the move tool and push it over into my library, and that is going to let me go in, and I can like name it. That's going to let me go into Illustrator now and then pull it up without having to save it out.